Time, we will tackle about Piaget's cognitive development theory. Jean Piaget was born in Switzerland in 1986. He was a psychologist. He concluded that children were not less intelligent than adults. They simply think differently. So now let's talk about Piaget's basic cognitive concept. Let's have first the schema. It is an individual's way of understanding and create meaning about a thing or experience. It is like mind has a filing cabinet and its drawer has a folder and that contain files of things he has had an experience with. So kani si schema is ang atong stock knowledge. So now let's have the assimilation. Assimilation, it is a process of filing new information into an existing or previously created schema. So for example, in our schema or our stock knowledge, we learn that our neighbor's daughter, who you have always known to be sweet, polite, and kind. Then one day, you glance at your window and see the girl throwing a snowball at your car. It seems out of character and rather rude. If you use the process of assimilation, you might dismiss the girl's behavior, believing that it's something she witnessed a classmate doing and that she does not mean to be impolite. You're not revising your own opinion of a girl. You are simply adding new information to your existing knowledge. She's still kind, but you know that she has a mischievous side to her. So in this situation, you're not changing the idea that a girl is kind, sweet, and polite. You're just adding an information that there is also a mischievous side of her. So in this case, you're just assimilating, or this is what we call assimilation. Accommodation is the process of creating new schema. In connection to our previously example of a girl, if you were to utilize the second method of adaptation described by Piaget, the young girl's behavior might cause you to reevaluate your opinion of her. This process is what Piaget referred to as accommodation, in which old ideas are changed or even replaced based on new information. So kung imo nang mag-change na ka og gamay nga mag-i-change na nimo og gamay ang pagsabot nimo sa behavior nga gipakita ni girl, or imo na siyang gi-reevaluate, gitawag na ni siya nga accommodation. So now let's talk about equilibrium. Achieving proper balance between assimilation and accommodation. So muna siya ang balance between the two. If your new acquired knowledge in relation to your schema or stock knowledge, kung need lang ba siya mag-add og information, or imo siyang i-reevaluate or even change it based on the new information that you acquire. To sum up and better understanding, according to Piaget, the learning process involves attempting to interpret new information within the framework of existing knowledge is what we call assimilation. Making small changes to that knowledge in order to cope with things that don't fit to those existing framework is what we call accommodation. And eventually adjusting existing schema or forming new ones in order to adjust to a new understanding is what we call equilibration or equilibrium. So now let's talk about Piaget's 4 stages of cognitive development. The first stage is sensory motor stage. The age range is 0 to 2. During this stage, we'll develop through our experience and the movement of our 5 senses. The infants learn that things continue to exist even though they cannot be seen, or what we call object permanence. They are also egocentric, in which they perceive the world on their own point of view. So now let's talk about the second stage, the pre-operational stage, age range from 2 to 7 years. During this stage, we learn to speak and understand that words, images, and gestures are symbol for something else. Children at this stage tend to be egocentric or struggle to use things to see things from the perspective of others. So the perfect example of this stage is role playing. Kay kadiri nga stage ganahan ng mga bata magsundog-sundog kung unsa ilang makita. Unang kasagaran sa mga ginikanan, sabi na og kanang naibisyo or masigarilyo, muna magtago-tago sila kay mahadlok na sila nga masundog sa ilang anak. So now let's talk about the third stage, the concrete operational stage. The age range of this stage is 7 to 11 years old. The major characteristic is developmental changes. The child demonstrates conservation, reversibility, serial ordering, and mature understanding of cause and effect. Relationships. Thinking at this stage is still concrete. Understanding the conservation. Physical quantities do not change based on the arrangement and or appearance of the object. So for example, tagaan nimo ang isa ka bata during this stage og kanang taas nga baso nga puno og tubig og dako nga baso nga puno og tubig, dili mag-change ang ilang pag-understand sa quantity or sulod sa baso nga tubig kay ang ilang pagsabutan na is the same lang ang quantity nga sulod sa tubig sa taas nga baso ug sa dako nga baso. So now let's proceed to the last stage, the formal operational stage, age range from 11 years old and older. Characteristics: the individual demonstrate abstract thinking including logic, deductive reasoning, comparison, and classification. The key teaching strategies is the use of visual aids like charts, illustration, but also incorporate a few more sophisticated graphs and diagrams. So during this stage, ato nang makabalo na ta mo reason out nga ang baso di ay nga dako ug ang taas pag puno og tubig dili siya the same og quantity sa sulod, dili pareha ang tubig sa sulod adto niya, dili pareha ang iyang quantity. Nga ang 8 og may plus 5 og 8 minus 5 is dili the same ang iyang result or ang iyang answer.